Previously, when Lewellyn came to meet her uncle, the king of Thessaly, she became emotional and shocked upon finding her supposedly dead mother alive in front of her after so many years. And as Joel Visor, father of Almondite, explained the entire situation of Lewellyn's mother execution and her flee to Thessaly, Lewellyn felt grateful and began to weep with joy. However, her mother, Delphina, changed her expression to a cold one, asking why Lewellyn hadn't avenged her mother's humiliation and ascended Brigent's throne. Perplexed, Lewellyn asked why she was behaving so strangely. To this, Delphina gave a sinister smile, mentioning that Lewellyn was nothing but a pathetic reminder of her mother's shame. Hearing this, Lewellyn became completely heartbroken, wondering if those sweet and happy memories had been nothing but a lie. Suddenly, Lewellyn remembered a notable segment of her childhood, and as Delphina prepared to leave the scene, Lewellyn stopped her and questioned if her execution had been an act to deceive the former king, and if she had planned all along to leave Brigent with her lover Joel Visor, abandoning her daughter all alone. So, let's dive into the parts 127 to 131 of the manhwa, The Secret Bedroom of the Forsaken Princess. Listening to Lewellyn's allegations, Delphina smirks, revealing that in fact she hates that man so much, and that man is so pathetic, as he struggles with her while having another woman by his side. Besides, the one who always protects and cares for her at that time is none other than Joel Visor. Moreover, Lewellyn is a child whom Delphina never loves, but only gives birth to for the purpose of succeeding to the throne of Brigent after her mad father. Smiling without any shame, Delphina asks if Lewellyn doesn't wish for her mother's happiness. With a bewildered mind, Lewellyn questions if it's really true that her mother never loves her as her daughter. At this, Delphina remains silent with emotionless eyes. Stepping forward, Joel worriedly asks if Lewellyn is okay. Upon this, Lewellyn strikes Joel's hand and pushes it away. Weeping heavily, she calls Joel a hypocrite and warns him to never come near her. Completely dejected, Lewellyn reflects that, in the first place, she was never in anyone's mind, not even in her mother's eyes. She was humiliated more and more as she grew older in Brigent. And because of these serious humiliations, she is tagged as a forsaken princess. With a disgusted expression, Lewellyn loudly declares that she wishes her mother was already dead that day. Hearing Lewellyn's declaration, Delphina flinches heavily. Shocked, Joel asks how she can say such rude things to her mother. Even the enraged Alpheus mentions that no matter how unfair it may be, how can Lewellyn be so arrogant? Suddenly, Almondite comes to Lewellyn's defense, questioning why they are all bullying the princess. Heavily pissed, Almondite mentions that if he hadn't tried to stop his father, he would have raised his sword at Lewellyn, and it shouldn't have been done in such a cruel way. Besides, he never thought their parents could be so shameless. As Almondite accuses Delphina as the main reason Lewellyn faced abuses from the late king, Delphina shamelessly states that she is also a victim of the late king. Even more pissed, he asks if Delphina is even a mother and shouldn't she feel sorry for her daughter Lewellyn. Hearing the facts from Almondite's mouth, Lewellyn reflects that she just wants to die and disappear. She also adds that her mother is the worst woman who tried to sacrifice her daughter to gain her own happiness. So, no matter how much they talk, it's meaningless. And as Almondite prepares to leave the scene with Lewellyn, the king refers to Lewellyn as his niece and expresses that the situation is so pitiful for her. He further declares that Thessaly will now agree with Brigent's demands, and he wants Lewellyn to bring justice to King Bastian and Queen Pamela by establishing the authority of Delphina and her lineage. Plus, he doesn't care if she wants to continue living the same life, as it's her freedom. Objecting, Delphina angrily shouts, shamelessly mentioning that her daughter must take revenge on her behalf. At this, the king reminds Delphina that it's her fault for raising such a weak and pathetic daughter. From here, the scene transitions to the other side of the palace, where Almondite brings Lewellyn to her bedroom for a rest. Sitting silently, she asks if this is why he was stopping her so desperately from coming to Thessaly. Lowering his gaze, he reluctantly affirms her assumptions. Weeping again, she asks why he didn't tell her anything if he already knew it. Pushing away her chair in heavy anger, she questions why he didn't reveal earlier that her mother is alive. Besides, he could have prevented her humiliation by informing her about this unexpected meeting, even by telling her in the morning. And as the completely devastated Lewellyn crashes on the floor, Almondite flinches heavily at witnessing her fragile state. Embracing her, he pleads with her to calm down and breathe slowly. However, Lewellyn becomes aggressive and starts to beat Almondite, asking why they all made a fool of her all this time. All of a sudden, she stops her attacks and begins to shiver heavily. With a stream of heavy tears, she mutters that she thought she had a place to go back to, but she was totally wrong. She thought she had a meaning to live, but it's all over now. Hearing this, Almondite also begins to cry in a sense to share her grief. Embracing her tightly, he apologizes for not telling her about this earlier, as he was afraid that she would get hurt knowing it. But he realizes he was wrong, as he intentionally hurt her by not telling her earlier. And for that, he is ready to repay for his sins by giving his whole life and body to her. Listening to this, Lewellyn hugs Almondite in response and begins to weep loudly, calling him Almond. Caressing Lewellyn, he wonders if this is the price he has paid for leaving her in the dark for 5 years. Suddenly, she mutters the words "get out" in a low voice. Perplexed, he asks if she said something to him. To this, the aggressive Lewellyn starts to push Almondite away, pleading with him to get out of her room. Observing that she is not in the right mind at the moment, he reflects that he has hurt her heavily instead of comforting her, and by that, he realizes he is no different from their cruel parents. Letting go of her hand, he makes up his mind to give her some time to calm herself. Leaving the room, Almondite states that he'll bring her some warm tea, so Lewellyn must take some rest. And as Almondite finally leaves the scene, Lewellyn crashes on the floor again with heavy force. Weeping, she calls herself a miserable woman, asking what she has been holding so dear and living such a hellish life all this time. Amid this, she gazes at the window of her bedroom. And as Lewellyn arrives right before it with swollen eyes and a gloomy face, she wonders if she should just jump from here and commit suicide. However, she remembers that she can't even do that, as the curse on her neck might save her again like it did last time. From here, the scene shifts outside Lewellyn's bedroom, where Almondite returns and knocks on the door, asking if Lewellyn is feeling better and if he can come inside. When he receives no response, he feels a surge of guilt, reflecting that it's all his fault and there's no room for excuses. Besides, he should have told her everything the day he met her again. With a big no, he adds that it might have been better if he had never shown himself before her again. Plus, the moment he decided to die, he should have gone through with it. Moreover, he regrets having changed his mind so abruptly. Seeing his own reflection in a cup of tea, Almondite begins to compare his face with that of his cold father, wondering if he has become the person his father wanted. Not wanting to believe it, Almondite mutters that right now, he should focus on taking care of the heartbroken Lewellyn. However, he is shocked upon entering the bedroom, as he finds it completely upside down, and Lewellyn is nowhere to be found. Crashing the tray on the floor, the worried Almondite begins calling her name and searching for her. Growing increasingly anxious for her safety, he rushes to continue his search outside the palace. The scene then transitions to a deep forest, where Lewellyn stands beside an abandoned lake alone. In a moment of despair, she begins to immerse herself in the water. As she stares at her reflection on the glowing surface, she imagines her identity disappearing along with her reflection on the water. She reflects that she chose this luminous place to end her life because her mother, whom she now despises the most, had once built a glowing glass house just for her in childhood. However, those fake memories mean nothing to her now, as she has already resolved to end her misery by taking her life with her own hands. Even the birds and animals retreat from the area as if disturbed by the horrifying scene. As Lewellyn sinks to the bottom of the lake, with her blood mingling with the water, she remains alive but wonders why she has chosen death to end her misery. She recalls her father's abuse, her stepmother Pamela's constant humiliations, and questions why the White Knights always despised her. She wonders why the nobles and their maids looked at her as if she were a bug, and, above all, why the one she held so dearly also betrayed her and left her completely alone. Yet, these memories remain precious to her, and she still loves them so much. And despite how cruelly they pierced her heart with their words and deeds, she wonders if it's truly okay to die quietly without saying anything. Meanwhile, inside the priest's palace, Ernell sits in deep thought, reflecting that Lewellyn must have uncovered a significant truth of her life. Deciding to check on the princess himself, he prepares to meet her in person and recalls a time when he was 20 years old, and refugees from Brygen had arrived and been accepted in the Holy Land. The scene shifts back to 20 years prior, when Lewellyn's mother, Delphina, arrives in the Holy Land. As the priests observe her, they whisper in disbelief about how a queen thought to have been executed is still alive. Awestruck by her beauty, Ernell wonders if God created an angel in human form. Amid this, a diplomat approaches and presents a letter from Duke Joel Vizerk, seeking asylum for Queen Delphina. Reading the letter, Ernell sees that the Duke humbly requests blessings for Delphina from the Holy Pope and the Patron. Ernell notes that Joel Vizerk is the very Duke who had once received blessings from the Holy Land. Moreover, though anyone might commit a crime in foreign lands, they are entitled to the Pope's protection upon setting foot within the Holy Land's borders. Scrutinizing Delphina with a serious gaze, Ernell lets out a deep sigh before welcoming her to the Holy Land, declaring that she is now under the Holy Pope's protection. And despite Ernell prays earnestly to God for the safety of the poor Queen Delphina, but within a few days, he discovers something shocking. One day, while reading in the garden, he accidentally overhears a conversation between Delphina and Joel, where Joel assures Delphina that her son Alpheus has safely reached Thessaly. To this, Delphina expresses relief, stating she was worried about her son, but now she feels reassured knowing he is safe. Listening to her, Ernell reflects, wondering if his mother, too, had ever looked at him with such a motherly aura. Joel then inquires about her plans for her daughter Lewellyn's future, who remains back in Brygen. Shamelessly, Delphina replies that she has entirely forgotten about that girl Lewellyn, instructing Joel to leave her as she is. Delphina reveals that Lewellyn was born solely to fulfill her duty. She adds that Lewellyn is a child meant to avenge her humiliation, and for Delphina, Lewellyn's only purpose in life was to serve that duty. Dismissing further mention of Lewellyn, Delphina instructs Joel to focus instead on their own love story. Hearing this, Ernell feels a wave of disgust toward Delphina as a mother. Angered, he wonders how any mother could abandon her own daughter. Gazing skyward, he further ponders what appearance that forsaken princess, abandoned by her mother, must have. The scene transitions back to the present time, where Ernell reflects that Lewellyn is a person who shines even after fading into despair. Yet, upon discovering she had been intimated with another man, his heart ached. He realizes he has never felt this way about any other woman before. Smiling lightly, he imagines she might be crying alone after learning this life-altering secret. Halting, he ponders how someone so lovely, who has never felt love from her parents, could endure so much. And as Ernell opens the door to Lewellyn's bedroom, he finds only a room in utter disarray, with an open window. As we wrap up today's segment, thank you for being with us until the very end. I'll be sharing fresh videos of this manga and exciting new series every weekend. Your support is invaluable, so please subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay updated. Your encouragement keeps the channel thriving, and I appreciate it immensely. Until next time, take care and goodbye.